the best Royal Caribbean cruise ships right now? What are the ones that maybe aren't so great? I've got a list of my top and bottom 5 Royal Caribbean ships up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Everybody loves a healthy comparison, rankings, I get it, and you know what? It feels like a good opportunity here to rank cruise ships. After all, Royal Caribbean's got some new ships coming online. You've got Star of the Seas in 2025 and Legend of the Seas in 2026, even more beyond that. But obviously, when you're choosing your cruise ship, there's a lot of ships to consider. In fact, there's about 30 ships now in Royal Caribbean's fleet, and that means there's a lot of choices. And probably one of the most common questions I get is which ship should I choose and which should I go on? So I'm going to give you my personal opinion on the top 5 ships and which ships I think rank in the lowest 5. Now, keeping in mind, by the way, these are opinions, and what's important to you and where you're sailing can oftentimes be overriding factors. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with the top 5. And at number 1, Icon of the Seas. I fell in love with Icon of the Seas almost immediately after getting on board the ship when the ship debuted in 2024. It has Royal Caribbean's best ideas in one ship. Because it was a white paper ship, which means that Royal Caribbean designed from the ground up without any preconceived notions of what it should include from other ships, they really came up with a lot of great ideas. And the fact that they distribute crowds better, have probably the best pool deck in my opinion, and include things like a water park and some of the best complimentary dining, all while dispersing crowds exceptionally well, Icon is in a class by itself, both literally and figuratively. Now, Icon is also very expensive and only sails in the Caribbean to the eastern and western regions of it, but I still think it is a cruise ship that is absolutely should be on everybody's must-try list. No cruise ship is perfect, of course. I think it's adults-only area. The Hideaway has a lot of direct sun. There's not a lot of shade there. I kind of prefer the solarium for that fact, but I'm also not a solarium kind of guy, so the fact that it doesn't have one doesn't really bother me that much. And of course, the fact that it's a brand new ship means it's not going to be cheap. Cruise fare prices for Icon of the Seas are definitely up there. Nonetheless, I love Icon. I've got a couple different cruises booked on Icon. And if you're someone who's brand new to cruising and you're asking me for a ship to be recommended to try for the first one, I would recommend Icon of the Seas every day of the week plus one. Number 2 on my list is Wonder of the Seas. Now, Wonder of the Seas was my favorite ship until Icon came out, and I really think it is the best iteration of the Oasis class. I mean, Wonder right now is doing 7-night cruises. That's going to change, and she's going to do 3 and 4-night cruises eventually. But what Wonder really encapsulates is, again, the best lessons learned from the Oasis class. There are currently 6 Oasis class cruise ships, with the 7th coming online in a couple of years. Something I've noticed about all these ships is that Royal Caribbean learns lessons and applies them to every single one. When they went to Oasis to Allure, to Harmony, to Symphony, you can tell there were like aha moments that Royal Caribbean figured out. As an example, Wonder of the Seas has a semi-enclosed aqua theater to help prevent some of the wind that disrupted some of the shows there. There's Playmakers on board, which is a great venue there. And they added a new venue, the Mason Jar Bar, which is one of my favorite places to go because I love the vibe of that bar itself, and the restaurant isn't too bad either. The pool deck got refined as well, and if you look at the pool deck on, say, Wonder of the Seas versus Harmony of the Seas, it's notably different, and I think, quite frankly, superior on Wonder of the Seas. If there's one area that Wonder struggles in compared to other Oasis-class ships, it's its shows. Wonder doesn't have a true Broadway show, whereas the other older Oasis-class ships all do, and that is a notable missing feature. But just like Icon of the Seas, I think Wonder is a really good choice for a first-time cruiser. And when Wonder moves to 3 and 4-night short sailings from Miami, it's going to change the dynamic of it a little bit, but I still think it's a great ship and one of the best in the fleet. At number 3, I've got Odyssey of the Seas, and this is very much an undersung, unheralded, forgotten Royal Caribbean cruise ship because Odyssey came out during the restart process of 2021 and 2022, and it came out, and then Wonder of the Seas came out almost immediately after that and stole all of its thunder. Just like Wonder, Odyssey is a representation of all the lessons learned of the Quantum class. Now, Odyssey is the last in the Quantum class, and they made some tweaks here that really stand out. First and foremost, the Seaplex. Oh my goodness, they added a Playmakers here. They reworked the layout of the Seaplex. It really makes a huge difference for people actually wanting to spend time in here. Then you have in the pool deck a secondary main pool that's not enclosed. And while I did actually like the enclosure on the older ships, having more of a resort vibe to it really stood out. Odyssey also got rid of the vestigial idea of having separate dining rooms and instead combined it to one dining room, and it's really pretty, and they did a really nice job with it. When you apply all the lessons learned to previous ships onto any ship, it's usually a recipe for a very, very good time. Now, the problem with Odyssey of the Seas is it spends a lot of time over in Europe, which is not a problem in and of itself, but obviously if you're cruising from North America, it's going to be tough to get on there. Secondarily, if you're cruising on Odyssey of the Seas from the New York area, because Odyssey is going to be based in the tri-state area over in Bayonne, New Jersey, because it lacks that indoor pool aspect of the secondary pool that Quantum and Anthem all had. When you have a cold day coming down from New Jersey or coming back up, it can limit the opportunities to spend outdoors. I don't think it's a big deal because before any of the Quantum class ships, this was always a thing, but it's worth noting. And also, Odyssey doesn't have any water slides. This is true of all the Quantum class ships, but obviously if you got kids, that might be an issue for you. At number 4, we're going to Utopia of the Seas. Utopia and Wonder are so similar that you really have to split hairs about what makes them different. And the reason why Utopia fell down to number 4 instead of being closer to Wonder is simply because she is doing those 3 and 4 night sailings. And I love weekend sailings, but I admit, I live in Florida and I cruise all the time, which is not representative of what most people do. Short 3 and 4 night cruises are great, but I really feel like they should be augmenting your cruising experience, not being the primary driver. Meaning, I think most people plan vacations around longer sailings, but you work in 3 and 4 night cruises to kind of pass the time more or less and help pad your cruising plans. While I say all that, Utopia of the Seas is really popular with first-time cruisers. That's the market Royal Caribbean is going after. They want people who have never cruised before that are looking at 3 and 4 night cruises because they're short sailings and it's their opportunity to dip their toe into the cruising waters, to look at the options and choices out there and see, oh my goodness, like Royal Caribbean's Utopia is so much better than every other cruise ship out there for a short cruise. We're going to go with Utopia. Royal Caribbean made some nice tweaks to Utopia of the Seas. Also, it has the mason jar, which I like, but also it has a much better pool deck area. They refined a lot of the features, and Royal Caribbean actually said it's their best in class pool deck, and you can see some of the tweaks and enhancements that are there as well. There's obviously a lot of parties, which may be a pro or con for you, depending on your perspective. What that means really is that it's like a regular Royal Caribbean cruise ship experience, but they just added more parties. There's more of a pool deck party vibe. There are also college parties at night, where, again, it's still Royal Caribbean. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to go out here and confuse this with like Las Vegas or something truly debaucherous, but it's still very much hey, there's a lot more going on in terms of parties and events. Just like Wonder, I think their shows really are lacking. I do like Aqua 80s too, which is in the Aqua Theater, but the other shows in the ice skating rink and in the main theater are kind of like ho-hum, been there, done that, not that exciting. But on a 3 or 4 night cruise, you only have a couple nights on the ship anyway, so there's plenty to hold your attention. And to round out my top 5, I'm going with Freedom of the Seas. Now, this was a really tough choice because I wanted to go with other ships like Oasis of the Seas or Mariner of the Seas, but I went with Freedom because I thought the upgrades that Freedom of the Seas got, and is about to get actually with some changes to its casino, we'll talk about that in a minute, have really made this ship stand out. It's a tremendous value, and I think it's a great ship to go on. So Freedom of the Seas got an upgrade in 2020, and she's actually, at the time of this recording of this episode, getting some upgrades as well as part of her maintenance schedule that happens every 5 years. Nonetheless, I think the balance of what you get on board the ship versus what you pay is really good. Freedom has water slides. It has El Loco Fresh. It has Giovanni's Italian Kitchen on board. It has Playmakers, a really nice casino, and they're actually adding a second casino to replace Vintages on the Royal Promenade. This is the first time they've done this on a ship that's not an Oasis class ship, but this is a really intriguing option. I got to check it out for myself, but so far I kind of like the idea. I think where Freedom maybe lacks a little bit is its cabins. You're not going to find nearly as many ornate or up-to-date cabins, especially in terms of decor, compared to the other 4 that are on this list, but it's still a great ship, and I wouldn't hesitate to go on it. And now it's time for the 5 worst, least favorite, however you want to look at it, Royal Caribbean cruise ships out there. Starting with number 5, I guess, is Explorer of the Seas. Explorer of the Seas is a Voyager-class ship, but the problem with Explorer is it never got the upgrades that Mariner and Navigator got. In fact, Voyager and Explorer and Adventure are kind of a step down because, again, they didn't get those upgrades. But Explorer really is lacking because she never got her amplification in 2020 when she was supposed to because of the whole cruise industry shutdown. So it's not just a bad ship. It's just lacking compared to other Voyager-class ships. And really, it's been left behind to some extent. Now, I'm hoping Royal Caribbean will upgrade the ship in the next couple of years, similar to what Allure of the Seas is getting right now. That's why Allure's not on this list, actually, because she's getting some major upgrades, and I really hope Explorer gets those as well. The best thing about Explorer of the Seas, though, is its cruise fares are among the cheapest out there. You get some great deals on an Explorer of the Seas sailing, and that's just because you're going to compromise on the onboard experience. Not that it's bad, but it doesn't have as much to do as some of those upgraded and or newer ships. Next up is Liberty of the Seas, and everything I just said about Explorer, you can apply to Liberty as well. Now, Liberty has a few more things going for it because it did get some water slides on board. Explorer did too, but Liberty has the tidal wave water slide, which I think is really cool. But that's about where it ends. Liberty doesn't have those major upgrades in terms of bars and restaurants, and it's just a little bit lacking. But just like Explorer, you can probably get some really good deals on it. So it's not the worst ship in the world. And when you're talking about either Explorer or Liberty, being Voyager or Freedom class ships, those are still big ships with plenty to do, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them to a family. I think there's enough to do on board, especially in the ports you're visiting as well, to keep you occupied, and it won't be the worst experience ever. Continuing with our trend of ships that should have got upgrades, but they didn't, Jewel of the Seas is next up. Now, I actually like the Radiance class a lot. My favorite ships are Brilliance and Serenade of the Seas, but Jewel is definitely the stepchild of the class because she never got some of the upgrades that the rest of the Radiance class got. Specifically, it still has like a NASCAR themed bar in there, which looks so dated, and really having instead a pub would be such a better upgrade. This is something that you'll find on the other Radiance class, but they don't have it here on Jewel, and it's unfortunate. Now, if there's a benefit to Jewel of the Seas, it's a Radiance class ship, so it's not going to feel nearly as crowded. Again, these ships only have a little over 2,000 passengers on board. So unlike an Oasis or even a Freedom class ship, it's going to feel a lot less crowded. There'll still be crowds and lines, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more manageable. And for the bottom of my list, the last two spots on this, I'm just going to put the entire Vision class. And I apologize in advance for this. I know there's a lot of fans of the Vision class, and I just told you in a recent video how much I actually enjoyed Enchantment of the Seas more than I thought I did. And that was absolutely still the truth in here. The problem with the Vision class is no matter all the virtues you can come up with for it, they just lack compared to the rest of the fleet. They really felt like they've been left behind because they're small, older cruise ships. This goes back to something I alluded to at the very beginning of this video. Expectations and what you're looking for in the experience. And if you watch a Royal Caribbean commercial, if you look at what Royal Caribbean advertises and then go on a Vision class ship, they are not the same thing. And I think Royal Caribbean knows this. This is why they've been working, supposedly, on a plan for newer, smaller ships called the Discovery class. And I'm going to link to those videos here after this video is over so you can take a look at it and get an idea of what Royal Caribbean has up its sleeve. But that's not confirmed yet, still in the rumor phase, so we'll forget about that in the meantime. The thing with the Vision class is I really don't think they deliver on the Royal Caribbean experience that you can expect on the bigger, newer ships. Now, you don't have to have a big new ship to have a good time, and the Vision class ships are going to be probably really cheap. They're also going to offer you maybe opportunities to go into different ports. So obviously, if you're in Europe and you're trying to go to some of the great Greek islands, you're going on a Vision class ship. That's not a bad thing, actually. And you can have a great time because you're there for the destination. And in that situation, that's a great choice. So when I'm listing these ships as the lowest 5 or bottom 5, worst 5, however you want to look at it, this is about expectations and what you're looking for. If you're a family that's looking for, hey, we want to have a fun Caribbean cruise, we've seen all these great things about Royal Caribbean, I wouldn't pick out Grandeur of the Seas as the ship for you. I would pick out maybe, Wonder or Utopia or Freedom or Icon, because that I think is representative of what you're looking for. But if you're saying, Matt, I really want to get into the far reaches of Alaska, or I want to go over to the Greek Isles, or I want to slip into one of the smaller ports in Europe, then obviously the Vision and Radiance class ships, even the ones on this list, are great choices for that because, first of all, they're your best and only choice for it, but also you're going for the places you're visiting, and that's more important. My hope with this list is you get an idea of my own opinions on things, because people like hearing my thoughts on what are the best and worst ships out there, but also it makes you think twice before you just pick a ship, especially just not picking a ship based on price. That would be a huge mistake. All right, with all that out there, let me know in the comments below, what are your top 5 and worst 5 Royal Caribbean cruise ships out there? What are your thoughts on my list? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm crazy about any of these? I'm curious to hear your reviews in the comments below. While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.